All right, calling the meeting to order at 6 p.m. And we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll now proceed into a roll call and conflict of interest check. And we'll start with Trustee Sickinga.
I'm present and I have no conflict of interest.
Trustee Sanders.
Here and none.
Trustee Nolte.
Here and none.
Trustee Abbott.
Here and none.
Treasurer Metz.
Here, none.
Clerk Stambuelis.
Present, none.
And Supervisor Scott here, none. We'll now move into approval of the agenda. Are there any motions, additions, or deletions to the agenda? I actually, before we move into that, I do want to call your attention to a stack of supplemental materials that were on the table here. Very quickly, I'll run down what you have in front of you. The revenue and expenditure report is updated. You probably noticed very easy to make mistake when pulling these reports. It was pulled from a previous year. Same month, but previous year. So this is the updated report there. We also have the single hauler public hearing meeting minutes that are redlined with the changes that were requested at our last meeting. So you have that in front of you to look at when we get to that portion of the agenda. And then you have another estimate for electrical work at Fire Station 2. There were actually two estimates sent. So one was sent to our office administrator, Sam. That's the bigger one that made it in the packet. The one that I had seen and that I thought we were going to be talking about tonight is the smaller one that's included here. That is for work that is needed relatively quickly. The larger estimate is for changing over full systems within the building to get us to LEDs and some of the more efficiencies, as well as some of the more immediate needs. So we'll be able to talk about both of those when we get to that portion of the agenda. You also have, for when we get to the fire code discussion, you also have the comments from both our planning and building consultants. And then there is also, we had some public comment that was dropped off here before the meeting that I left there for you all as well. Now we'll move into approval of the agenda. Are there any changes or requests to change the agenda? All right, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Been moved by Abbott, seconded by Metz. Sorry.
All right.
That was your intent, right? You were. Any discussion? All right, hearing none, we'll move into a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. The motion carries. We'll now move into our first call for public comment. As a reminder, if you have public comment, if you were the first one, please turn on the microphone by holding the button there. We ask that everyone limit their comments to 3 minutes or less, and know that public comment is not a back and forth discussion. If there's a response requested, we will do that after the meeting.
It's a question. Talk about the short-term rental now or wait until it comes up.
That is totally up to you. If you do it now, there's you're allowed to do public comment for your 3 minutes. We also will have this board will have a short-term rental public hearing to hear all of those comments as well at our August 12th special meeting. So either or both, whatever your preference.
I am going to limit my comments to a sensitive issue. It really has nothing to do with the merits or lack of merits of what is before the
Board of Trustees, the Planning Commission. This can of worms, this problem, was not caused by Dexter Township. It wasn't caused by the Planning Commission. Hasn't been caused by the Board of Trustees. Rather, I think it was caused by some disconnect with the consultant that was hired. In October of 24, there was by the Bennett's a proposal to change the ordinance regarding short-term rentals. It was decided that there should be an investigation. There was a survey, special committee appointed. But by early spring, it was quite clear that the consultant knew or should have known what was to be in the best interest of the township that would fix the problem, close the can of worms. Dexter Township is no different than many local townships in size and makeup, population. For example, Putnam Township. The consultant had worked on the Putnam County ordinance. Upon my review of it, I felt it was well crafted. And by early spring, I think the consultant knew or should have known what should be recommended. There were two simple solutions. Define short-term rentals and say it's a commercial business and enforce it, or adopt the Putnam ordinance with minor changes. Instead, there was a creation of confusion and a draft made up of parts from various other ordinances that were inapplicable to Dexter Township. A consultant has to know what is in the best interest of its client. My concern is that there has been an enormous amount of time and effort put into a project that just wasn't necessary. That the township is going to have to pay for that. And I don't perceive there was value for the dollars that are going to be imposed upon the township for the work done. Just so the board knows, at the last public planning commission meeting, the consultant suggested there were 3 solutions. No, there's only 2 solutions for this township today, now. 1, simply change the definition, however you want to make it. Or 2, adopt something that has been used and approved by someone else. I've been practicing law for 50 years, and I can't tell you the number of times I would take someone else's work, change the name, and say, here, I'll charge you X. That didn't happen here. And I think it's very, very important that the process be considered when retaining a consultant. Again, this isn't a problem caused by this board. This isn't a problem caused by the Planning Commission. This isn't a problem caused.
Mr. Spiegel, I've given you about 2 extra minutes, so if you could wrap it up. Thank you.
Caused by a consultant. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Additional public comment? Anyone else? All right, hearing none, we'll move into the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
It's been moved by trustee Sickinga. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Abbott. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move into a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. The motion carries. We'll move into our action items, and we start with the acceptance of financial transactions. It's on page 95 of your packet. And actually is contained in the supplemental information in front of you. Sorry. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the financial transactions. To
It's good.
accept the financial transaction.
It's been moved by trustee Sickinga. Is there a second? Seconded by treasurer Metz. And any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move into a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. All right, the motion carries. We'll now move into the approval of single hauler public hearing Board of Trustee meeting minutes. As we move into this item, also in your packet is a redlined version from trustee Sickinga with proposed changes to those minutes. If you look at the version that's on the table, you should see a redlined copy with any of those changes highlighted there.
So these are the changes start at the bottom of page 3 of the printout of the minutes. And it's really just clarifying that the contract is being negotiated. And so all these answers are subject to change pending contract negotiation. And then a couple of just corrections. For example, the rates will be posted on Waste Management's website, not on Dexter Township's. The Board of Trustees just makes a decision about the special assessment district, not the Department of Public Works. And, so just a couple of factual errors and then a little bit of equivocal language.
Any further, since we started with some discussion, since this was just on the table, is there any other questions or discussion about this draft? Hearing none, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the amended minutes for the public hearing meeting of the Dexter Township Board Tuesday, May 20th, 2025. We already did discussion, but is there any last discussion before we move into a vote? Hearing none, we'll move into a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. The motion carries. Our next action item is the approval of the single hauler provider to advance to contract negotiations. It's my understanding that we have had a recommendation from the small committee that's been working on single hauler to continue with more in-depth contract negotiations with Waste Management. Waste Management has asked sort of that, there be some sort of official action that shows that the board supports moving forward with those conversations with them as the selection, as was recommended by the committee. All this would allow us to continue conversations, direct conversations with Waste Management. There is no contract draft to review, so we would not be approving anything tonight other than the fact that we would be authorizing trustee Sickinga, trustee Nolte, and the township attorney to be providing comments and suggestions to that contract that then would come back to this board for any kind of final approval.
I'll also add that in conversations with the Director of Public Works, under their grant proposal, they are willing, once we get a quasi contract together through ours, he's open to sending it to the county attorney to take a review, because obviously he's reviewed quite a few of these, so he'll give us a second backup review.
So with permission of the board, then our intention would be to take the draft that we have now, that we have negotiated with Waste Management, which has some holes in it, like we're negotiating penalties for non-performance on their behalf, and forward it to attorneys for attorney review. But Waste Management has told us they've invested a significant amount of time, I think, in this iterative process of reviewing the contract, and they want to have some assurance from us that our intention is to move forward if we can work through the contract details before they invest more time in the negotiations.
True.
Any further discussion?
I also think we've also, just to say, we've talked out a lot of the points. And we are in agreement of a lot of the points. Some we're still trying to refine. But now it's just getting pen to paper and getting it down in the proper words.
I did speak with a resident today and, I would agree that we, the devil is in the details. So I think that for all of us, we need to be able to see a finely worked contract before we can really make a decision on if this makes sense for the township or not.
Very much so.
And we're still just discussing? Okay,
Good.
okay. So, is there a reason why the board can't pick two of the three? And the reason I say that is because, there are still things that I'm definitely on the fence with. Number one,
Oh, two of the three
Providers.
providers. Okay, sorry. Sorry, a little slow tonight.
and I do have, big concerns, and they're not just my concerns, because my family personally, we don't generate a lot of garbage, so we dispose of that ourselves. It would be a waste of environmental stewardship to have them come down our road, unless they were servicing more, of course. But, number one, the recycling isn't local. That's a big stick with me. And I don't know where they're recycling, how they're recycling. I'm not physically going to drive to Detroit to see what they're doing with the product. Secondly, I really, I really feel for small businesses. And I know one of them in particular is a small business. And yeah, I'm just looking for, the future of these small companies that are local to us. But another reason why I'd like to see, if this was even a possibility, I'm just going to say how I feel. It makes me very uncomfortable with such a low bid. And with having such a low bid, once other suppliers have left Dexter Township, if there are only one or two large conglomerate companies standing, that is a big concern for me, where those prices could be elevated. And I have done my research, and I have, and I've shown up for the majority of every planning session, and which I've definitely appreciated hearing, from those that have put in a whole lot of work, which definitely I know how much work went into this for the two Karens, the board members, but also to hear not just at the meetings, but from individuals just outside every day that I run into or speak to. So those are my three concerns. So I don't even know if that would be an option. I don't know if that could sway Waste Management away, like, oh, if you're gonna now look into
think-
another.
Well, before you answer that, I want to clarify. Are you asking if instead of having a single hauler, we could have two haulers? Or what do you mean by select two out of three? I don't understand what you're asking for.
Just for even negotiation purposes, exactly. To have, when their contracts come back,
You mean to negotiate a contract
to see
with
what
two
they're
out of the
selling.
three and then come back with two contracts for the board to consider whether we choose
Yeah.
this one or that one?
Instead of just have a one, here is that individual. And I am another one, and I feel I'm doing justice to the community by saying, taking the cheapest bidder. I also look at it like this. If you're a large company, you employ a whole lot of people, those people are probably not necessarily local to our community. They're just here to do a job. Where if it's someone that is local, a small business, they have more one-on-one, conversations, loyalty. You get to know your people, and you're supporting someone who's your own. So that's I'm just wondering if that's even a possibility to have 2 out of the 3 bring what they have to the board.
I don't
Okay.
think we can get, I don't think they would it's many hours go into a contract negotiation. So I think if we haven't selected the bidder, they won't put the effort into the contract negotiation, but we could decide that we at any cost will take a local bidder and then go to a local provider if we thought that the community, I mean, we didn't, in the creation of the RFP, we did not say that we're gonna give. Usually if you want a local vendor, you state upfront in the RFP that you're going to give extra weight to local vendors, and we didn't do that. So if we're going to make the decision based on, we prefer a local vendor, we probably would have to, I mean, Sarah's not here, but I wonder if we would have to reissue the RFP because we didn't say that we were gonna give 50, I mean, the local vendors were more than twice as
Understand.
costly as Waste Management. So I understand the fear.
And who is considered local? Who are you considering local?
Probably Stevens.
Okay.
So we would have to say that we're gonna give, 300% weight or something to, that it's such a large price differential that I think that might be problematic too. I wish Sarah was here to advise us, but
I think, I think it's a good point and a good question. I think my concern, and I'm not saying that we should only, like, that we should decide today that we're going forward with waste management contract negotiations. That's not the intent of this comment. Maybe that's where we get to, but it would also be very costly for the township in the time that our attorney would take to negotiate 2 contracts. And at the end, we may be deciding that we're not doing either. So that's a risk, I guess, that is also happening with this one. I mean, that's, if we decide one, we could be authorizing the attorney to spend a bunch of time and we would be paying for that. And then we could come to the meeting and decide we're not going this route, right? We could get the contract and say, this is not what we think is in the best interest of the township. But that cost doubles if we do that with 2. So that would be my only, as we weigh it all out. I would want us, I guess, to have more of that policy decision and discussion that you're talking about, Michelle, because I think that's important. But I don't know that I want to have it after we've paid an attorney to negotiate a contract.
So
If that makes
add
sense.
that currently, one of the issues with Stevens when we were going through the bids is Stevens at this time does not offer any recycling. They do strictly trash. And for them to take on recycling is it's a new entity for Dexter Township, because within Dexter Township now they're trash only. And so that was given weighted concern when we were choosing. I mean, they don't have the existing infrastructure currently to handle recycling to our knowledge
Well, I
in our
think
conversations.
they didn't offer recycling, did they, in there? I think they.
I know they bid $60 some, and I cannot remember if they bid recycling at all. So that would take another hauler to handle just recycling because they don't offer recycling at this time.
I heard a lot of members of the public. I heard a couple of members of the public worrying about some of the things that you're talking about, Michelle, like the consolidation of trash collection to a smaller number of companies, and then they have control over pricing, basically, and then are we going to be gouged basically in the future because there's a smaller number, there's less competition. What we know from Matt Nod and Theo, the other side of that is that it's very small vendor, that the barriers to entry are high for trash collection because the equipment costs are very high. So purchasing the garbage trucks, the recycling trucks, and composting is usually not except most small vendors just can't do composting because it's too expensive. So then what happens when small vendors are selected, then you have instability in the service where people go out of business or they just can't make their businesses work. And we've experienced that here in Dexter Township with some of the small vendors going out of business. So on the one hand, you have risk of price gouging after 5 years. On the other hand, you have risk of loss of service township wide from smaller vendors. So it's not just price. It's also
It's infrastructure and longevity
yeah,
and
it's like with airplane, I mean, they used the example, somebody used the example, I don't know if this maybe was before you got involved, but like, it's like airlines, because the equipment cost is so expensive, like buying a plane is expensive and getting a garbage. So these are matters that are kind of independent of the bidders, we have to decide, are we willing to take this risk on behalf of, and what risk do we think is, what are we more worried about? Are we more worried about service instability, or are we more worried about future price gouging? One other point I would make though is that in 5 years, there are still going to be multiple vendors. So like I was just in Texas and my father-in-law has GFL. So there will be waste management in GFL and there'll still be competition, but it'll be competition among large providers, not very small providers. So we can go out to bid in 5 years if waste management starts gouging and try to get GFL or another large vendor to bid.
Mhm.
But I don't know that that's necessarily going to allay everybody's fears.
Additional discussion.
I
Yeah.
appreciate the fear.
I don't have,
I think we've all had that fear. Yeah.
my biggest thing was the whole recycling aspect of it. And that was in the RFP, and that was something that was
Or
very
to go
important
to
to me.
WWRA.
And I know the
Absolutely.
WWRA has issues, but again,
Mhm,
it's home.
Mhm.
And those, we need to work on those issues here.
mhm.
And that's probably one of my biggest fear. And of course, then with the environmental footprint.
The other thing is we can't even, I mean, WWRA hasn't been able to give us an idea of how much of
I
Dexter
understand that.
Township's curbside recycling is actually going to them. And so the impact to them, I think WWR's impact, as we've discussed, is more of this than it is our curbside recycling. And how much, it depends on how much curbside recycling, how many people uptake on it, how it impacts this. You can't have a total prediction on that.
As I remember from the meeting, this waste management recycling is going to go to a new recycling center in Detroit, right? To me, I don't know what we consider local, but to me, Detroit is pretty local. I realize that it's a drive, but it's still like,
Part
I
of
don't
the
know,
community.
within our, I mean, it's. What?
Yeah,
Here.
I think that I hear that. I think I agree with Michelle in the point that we have all supported and the residents of Dexter Township have supported WWRA.
Yeah.
And so the impact of it, I think the problem that I struggle with is also what Trustee Nolte just said, in that WWRA has failed to be able to tell us what that impact is. Like, I would love to be able to come here and say, this is not a great idea because this is the impact and we've invested in this over years and the residents have invested in this over years. But to this point, WWRA hasn't even been able to tell us what that impact
And-
looks like.
And to the other point is
We want it.
WWRA chose not to bid.
Yeah.
They were sent the RFP.
Yeah,
They were
We
given
wanted
the,
them to
I
provide
don't want
it.
to, I don't want to get us too far off track. I just
Yeah.
was saying that I agree with, like, that
Yeah.
point to me is very relevant.
Yeah.
And our residents continue to pay, and we will have a discussion coming up, right? About
Yeah,
whether or not
absolutely.
they're going to pay for WWRA and for the bins out here. And so I think it's a very valid question. I think my take on it is, though, and this is kind of one of the reasons that I support moving us forward in contract negotiations. That doesn't mean, again, that I'm going to vote yes on this provider when it comes up before us next time. I want to be able to see those details. I think those are the very important, when we see in black and white that WWRA is not an option for them, that these are the costs, this is what's locked, these are the teeth, this is what, to bring up the things from the public hearing, this is what's happening with snowbirds and the things that are really important to the community. If we can't do that until we've advanced to that stage, I would like to get there. My preference is to do that with the one that we think is probably most feasible, because of the cost for the attorney. But I also, I think those are I think the clerk has brought up very valid questions and concerns. Trustee Sickinga.
Yeah, I wanted, so what I would say is when we come back with a contract, it is not going to have WWRA as the destination. It will have Detroit. So like the best case would be, we all feel comfortable with the rate, we feel comfortable with the snowbird and the large item pickup and all those details everybody's comfortable with, but we're still going to be compromising on the destination for the recycled products, which is going to be Detroit. If we bring out a contract for waste management, the recyclables will be going to Detroit, and it will be one of the country's very large haulers. It will not be local. And so I think if a majority of the board, even in the best case scenario where all the details are perfect, but we just aren't comfortable with a very large provider and a provider who's going to Detroit, then we shouldn't incur that. That's why I wanted to bring this to the board tonight, because if imagine the best case scenario, we work out all the other details. Are you going to vote no because you don't want to haul to Detroit and you don't want to go with waste management? We should stop now and not incur the attorney's costs and not ask waste management to spend more of their time if we're not negotiating in good faith and attention.
I also think we have to look at, there's a lot of surrounding communities around here that are currently using waste management. And I'm not saying by any means that says we should do it, but I don't think just because they're waste management or a large company, we shouldn't do it. Just because they're large, we say, no, we can't give you our business. It's the direct opposite of what we're saying to a small company. I don't think we should say that either. We're looking for somebody that has the infrastructure to carry us for 5 years.
And I don't mean it anyway that they're a large company. It's just when someone brings a bid like that, that bid is concerning to me. I'm just going to say it how it is. I am in business. And secondly, it's varying on the landfills and they own them. So that's another big plus in their favor. I guess as a different question, can I just be specific, or can you or the board be specific with asking them 3 things? Who are their buyers for recycling? Are they going to use incinerators? I mean, that's a
We can have those
question too.
discussions.
And then what do they recycle? Are they sending it overseas? This is important to me. And it was from the very beginning. So when I heard no WWRA, no local, because they have a big plant elsewhere, and Detroit is close by. But again, the environmental footprint, trucking that stuff down there. I've been over to, so I've taken stuff over to large pieces of recycling and trash at certain points over to the facility in Whitmore Lake, and I've seen them with their skid steer and they're driving all over the plastic, and that's splintering and exploding, but the cardboard, they're sifting out certain things. I want to make sure we're doing right.
Could you repeat the 3 questions? Trustee Sickinga was writing them down so they could.
And we can also go, I can make a trip to if the answers to these questions were satisfactory to you and you wanted to feel comfortable that they weren't just blowing smoke, we could, and you could come, anybody could come. I mean, we could ask to go visit their plant in Detroit
great
and
too.
observe what
We've
they're
already
doing.
kind of asked that.
And then, so the three
Can you
questions I
repeat your
have,
three questions?
are they using incinerators? Are they shipping overseas? And
Who are the buyers and what do they recycle?
who are their buyers? And what do they recycle?
And I just asked these three questions to the WWRA, other than I already know they don't have incinerators.
Their buyers may be proprietary, some proprietary information.
So I,
Doesn't hurt to
Just-
ask.
I
Yeah,
now.
I'm
I
not saying,
now-
but I'm
I-
not sure you're gonna.
I now have 4 questions. Are they
I have
using it-
4 also.
Are they
Yeah.
using incinerators, which I don't think I know how to spell? Are they shipping overseas? Who are their buyers?
Where
and
does it
what
go?
And what do they recycle?
Yeah,
So that's.
That's
okay.
4.
I'd,
Okay,
I'd
okay.
appreciate that. That would
Yeah.
make me feel much.
they
better.
do also recycle glass. Glass can go into.
And we'll
recycling.
schedule a
That's an
trip.
improvement.
We'll schedule a trip to visit their facility and we'll let everybody know when that trip is.
If we get that far, yeah.
Yeah, if we get that far.
Okay, yeah, exactly.
Any additional discussion? Anybody else that wants to weigh in?
I just want to say again, if you have an intention of voting no, even if based on the
Recycle.
distance to the, based on the fact that they're not doing WWRA and that they're not a local firm, I would encourage you to vote no tonight because we need to know that. So,
Can I just get clarity on what we probably don't have clarity on, which is, are these bins? I mean,
These bins really have nothing to do with single hauler.
I know, but
The green.
will,
Hold on.
because there will be curbside recycling, these bins will likely be used less. Can there still be a bin there possibly, or could, I mean, if they're not used as much, can we kind of guarantee that there's a bin there for people who have opted out of single hauler and want to be able to bring their recycle? there?
Really, the bins are not our decision. The bins are a WWRA decision based on us participating in the SAD.
I
If
see.
we continue to assess the $31 per house, those bins will stay. If we choose not to do the $31 per house, those bins will go away.
well, those bins might go away.
They told us
They'll
last
go
month they
away.
will
Oh, they
go
will.
away.
However, so the Workner transfer station,
That's.
I'm not, pardon?
Oh,
Go
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I thought that they had recycling bins there. I mean, I've
do.
never
They do.
used
do.
them.
They do,
so-
that's another option.
So that is, that's why I'm saying it.
But of course, the WWRA would prefer to have that SAD at the locations. So that's,
Well, and I think we do have a large number, we have a large number of residents, I think, that, at least that I've heard from, that use that, I mean, I can tell you from being in the township offices, they replace those containers daily. They are here hauling at least one of those that is full every day. So we have a large amount of usage here in the parking lot. But to Trustee Nolte's point, that will be a decision that will come to the board because that SAD ends in February. So we're going to have to make a decision about those bins specifically separately. Anyways,
As a point of clarity, I think the SAD ends in December of 26, but the decision of the board should be in
oh,
February.
thank you.
Yeah.
I didn't,
Oh,
Yes.
it runs through the year, but we have to decide.
we
in
have to
February.
decide.
Yeah.
Yes.
But even if we decide no, we keep the bins through all of 26. Yes.
Right, the SAD continues through
Right.
26.
Any additional discussion on advancing the contract negotiations? If not, is there a motion?
I thought we made one.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve moving forward with contract negotiations with Waste Management.
I'll second.
It's been moved by Trustee Sickinga, seconded by Trustee Abbott. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll move into a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. Hearing none, the motion carries. And we'll now move into our discussion items. We have several items up for discussion this evening. We have our discussion of the creation of Waterways Committee with Trustee Nolte and Trustee Sickinga.
I think, I'll speak for Karen and Karen. I think generally we have kind of in our heads put this on hold for a second until we can get a representative from each one of our lakes to get their impact of what this would do and what we would be looking, what its mission would be before we try to formalize a formal committee or a subcommittee or anything. So I think we have to pull that together first. So
So this is now our second, we always do the 3-touch method, so it's been through 2. So when that time comes, if you let us know, we'll get it on the agenda as an action item.
okay.
But before, I mean, this will be a very brief question, but does anybody have any concerns or worries or about the concept of kind of trying to pull together? This is basically to do education and community outreach
Yeah.
to
Water
lake
safety.
associations, and I hope at some point riverfront owners.
I think River's got to be included.
I think it's a great idea. Just we have some very strong lake associations, and I think that getting them together is only a benefit to all of our waterways. I mean, I think they do a great job already independently, and some of them do work together. But
Yeah, and some waterways aren't represented.
Yeah.
Like some don't have, like Blind Lake doesn't have anything. Like there's a few, does 4 Mile? I don't know. I know they have a weed problem, but
So no, I mean.
any additional discussion,
Mm.
questions, concerns?
No, I think it's a good idea.
Right. All right, we'll move on to our next discussion item, which is the fire ordinance. I don't see Lieutenant Root. You are not Lieutenant Root.
Yeah.
But that's okay. Please come up and.
Instead of Lieutenant Root. This is the fire ordinance and the fire code approval. So, I mean, this is Lee Root. I think you're.
Ed.
Oh, you're Ed Root.
Yes.
Oh, I was
Yep.
confused then.
I'm the inspectors.
Oh,
There we go. So this is the correct, we were calling you the wrong route, I believe, is
Lee Root and the other guy.
No,
was-
no.
I blame trustee Second. So this is who we're supposed to
I
have today.
apologize for all the
That's
times I
okay.
called you Lee.
That's okay. People do it all the time.
Well, welcome. Thank you so much. Sorry for the awkward introduction.
Right? Oh, it
I
is.
think, yeah,
Yeah, it's on.
It's on.
hear it up here.
So can I give a little
Absolutely.
few
Go
word of
ahead.
introduction? So Chief Armstrong is away at training in Washington DC, executive leadership training for fire chiefs. And so because Lieutenant Root, so are you a lieutenant?
Inspector Root.
Inspector Root, okay.
Yep,
So
not lieutenant.
Inspector Root is the purpose of a fire code is to ensure that construction and use of buildings prevents damage from
Yep.
fire, right? To
Yep.
people or harm
Yep.
to people or damage. to
It's
property.
more of just a general common code, if you will, just like a building code would be, but it's more where it plays a lot in for us is more egress, how to get into the locations. Neighboring township, they're going through this right now with some of their private roads and driveways, that we have 3,000-foot long driveways that are only 10 foot wide. And like, how are we gonna get there? We can't, so a fire code would come into play as it kind of starts laying out a map, if you will, of what needs to be done, how to get there,
And I think the big question that people were asking last month, and I'm speaking for you guys, was what is the impact on existing properties? Is it mostly for new construction and major renovation?
I would say the majority of the code is gonna fall under new construction and renovations. If it's something that's existing, that's something that where the fire department and the township can work together. We understand that if someone has an egress problem and they cannot afford it, what's our next options? Could we access your house from a neighboring location, something to that nature? I mean, we're not going out trying to break people's banks and, make them comply. So we're trying to work with people the best we can to, to get to the final step of, for a safety standpoint.
So really, we asked Inspector Root to come so you all could ask him your questions.
Yeah, if anyone has questions. Trustee Nolte?
And I just glanced at this, I'm sorry, I didn't pick this up before, on 114, and page 114 on the bottom, it says the code does not apply to existing single-family homes, but those homes that are used for non-residential purposes such as short-term rentals. So if we adopt this, that becomes, like, short-term rentals would have to comply with
Yes,
getting
so
your
with
trucks down.
short-term rentals, once you go, the fire code really doesn't speak too much in terms of residential. The building department takes care of 90% of it.
Mhm.
Meaning like when you build a house, you have to have smoke detectors and
Right.
egress windows and whatnot to get in and out. Where a rental becomes, keep in mind, you're going from a residential structure to now it's considered a commercial structure.
Mhm.
You are making money off of it. So that's where the code would come into play. And it's still basically going back and following what the building code pretty much
Right.
says. Like, do you have working smoke detectors? Do you have
Right. I
windows
guess,
that, not painted shut,
right. And I understand all the building codes. I was wondering about the roads.
So the roads in I guess. what's the
Because if
question?
we have a large lake population,
Mhm, mhm.
and I know it's hard I happen to live on a lake, and it's horrible for the trucks to come
Right,
down
right.
where we are, you back up 1,000 feet to try
Well,
to get out.
so one thing that I've been seeing a lot of, that I've been working with in Webster a lot with them, is same thing, we had private drives and roads, whatnot. There's options we can do for turnarounds,
Mhm.
like a cul-de-sac turnaround, which is 96 feet. Sometimes you don't have that,
That's a lot.
it is, it's a very
That's a lot of
large.
space.
So what I've been trying to work with some of the residents is like, hey, could you make your driveway a little bit wider, not put your rocks right on each side, where
Mhm.
it's like a hammerhead, if you will, where we could pull up back into the driveway
Mhm.
and back and pull out. And they're like, yeah, we could do that. And that
Okay.
means instead of our driveway being, let's say, 15-foot wide, they're gonna go to 20, 25-foot, whatever,
Okay.
and they're more than happy to do that because it helps them and it helps us too.
Right.
What happens if the building code and the fire code conflict? What takes precedent? Like if the Chelsea Area Construction Agency's code is different than what we adopted, what would take precedent there?
Well, I don't know if it ever would.
Okay.
Because most of the building code is built around safety, is basically what it is. So, the fire code kind of is like the base of the safety of it. And then building, like, all right, how can you build a structure safer? How can you, it doesn't blow down in a windstorm or a tornado, so they kind of work hand in hand. So I really don't think you would ever have something that would
Conflict.
conflict with each other, but I mean, I guess if there was, it's more of, the fire department and then the building department working together to come up with a solution to it. But I mean, I can't recall of anything that would ever come to that, though.
Okay. Thank you.
These questions may seem a little, I don't know, uninformed.
Oh, no.
Uh, I don't want to say ignorant, but first of all, I know that a lot of times when something sells,
Mhm.
then it gets re-inspected for code upgrade.
Are you talking about residential or
Uh,
commercial?
Probably commercial I'm talking about.
So generally, how it works is if you have a commercial structure, whether it's a gas station, whatever,
Yeah, or a restaurant.
restaurant, whatever, it sells, it doesn't really get re-inspected per se, because you're staying within what you've been assigned, like an assembly or your business or whatever that
Okay.
is. It's when you switch, like we're in the city of Dexter with their industrial park, it happens a lot. The empty warehouses, before was maybe a distribution type warehouse,
Mhm.
and then all of a sudden now they want to move in and they want to put in a brewery that seats
Okay.
300 people. It changed your occupancy. So now we have to go and inspect it and be like, all right, before you had 10 employees in here working, now you're going to have 300 guests in here. Can they get out safely? And
Right.
that's where it kicks in the code. We'll start, do you have emergency lighting? Do you have proper egress aisleways to get out? That sort of thing. So-
Okay, so it has to kind of almost change. It's venue or change its.
Correct,
its-
correct,
its,
correct. Yep.
Reason for you, yeah,
Yes.
okay. Another question I have is, if it's residential or thinking about, lake properties in these small
Mhm.
places, is it okay for you to just drive on lawns? I mean, does everything have to have
Well-
can trucks go on lawns? I mean, I think
We
people
certainly
trade off
can,
their
and we
lawns
certainly
for
we have
fire.
before. Keep
Pardon?
in mind, like our tankers, for instance, they're upwards 80,000 pounds.
Mhm,
In the middle of spring,
mhm,
they're, you get off any main road, you're sinking.
mhm.
And if that truck is now stuck in a yard, I mean, it's no use to us and it's no use to, what's going on with this,
You have a
emergencies.
tow truck for it, huh?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. So, that's
Okay.
where that more plays in, I mean,
That's what I'm wondering.
middle of August around here, we can probably drive across a farmer's field and never have a problem, you know what I mean?
Right.
But,
I'm
April,
just-
May, oh no. Maybe
Right.
not this summer because of the amount of rain we've had, but. so
And unless
that's-
they catch you, then there might be a
Yeah,
problem.
right.
Farmer might not.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, and so in terms of people's yards, if we have to access something, however the layout is, or maybe they have vehicles in the way or something, we may have to like pull off into the grass. But when we do that, we know that there's a chance as soon as we pull off that driveway, we're stuck. And that
Mhm.
truck better be sitting where we need it and don't have to move it until after the, call's done. So, and one of the big things that we see a lot is even medical calls. Medical calls, we show up, Huron Valley Ambulance will show up with an ambulance.
Mhm.
We'll show up with 1 or 2 possible trucks. You'll get a couple sheriff's deputies sometimes. There's 4, 5,
Yeah.
6 vehicles that show up just for a lift assist, let's say, or something, whatever it happens to be. It may not be a major medical, but the problem is then you get this many cars bottlenecked into one location. If you're on a private drive or a private road, residents now that live beyond that, they can't get in and out until we're cleared and moved out of there. So we're trying to help make it so we can still do our job efficiently, but it doesn't impact residents as much also.
Additional questions?
What would be the new code for daycare or school?
Okay, so you mean like a public school?
Well, I would have more like a daycare or preschool.
Okay, so that would be more fall under an assembly type, so it's anything 50 or more. And then the code breaks down is the amount of people there, are they there for as a business? Are they there for a school? Are they there for a doctor's where maybe they're doing hyperbaric chambers tough, where you might be there 8 hours? Are you there like overnight type urgent care thing? So it starts breaking, the code breaks all that out. So it'll start telling you, okay, this is for let's say a daycare. It'll say, you have to have exit signs and and then people that work there need to have emergency planning. So if the fire alarm goes off, you don't have the help just leave and then you got 2-year-olds left. Like, what's the escape plans type? It really boils down to sum it up, the code really is common sense is what it does.
And safety.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how many times, even myself at home, you forget, you just make one little thing like, oh, I've done this 100 times and that'll be the one time that's gonna bite you. So,
Like I never do it, but forget to unplug my curling iron.
see.
But I don't do that. But it's a fear.
Right.
Yeah, my question was, the cost. I mean, again, talking about small businesses.
So,
and-
so with businesses, keep in mind, so any business, it's not if they're gonna start do a construction, let's say totally new construction, all the permits and stuff that go through the county or Chelsea, they are gonna start filling in voids of, smoke detectors. So majority of the stuff that they're gonna ask for that's required, the same stuff we're asking for. The only thing that we're gonna say is like if a business, like, can we have a Knox box, which is a box that gets mounted permanently to the outside of a structure. It has the keys in it, so that way in the middle of the night, if there's a fire alarm, we're not breaking an expensive door for, that cleaners are in there cleaning and the dust set off the smoke detector by accident. So we can access this key to get in the building. We check the building out, it's fine, and we're gone.
Or theoretically, if a township supervisor had locked himself in the vestibule.
That would never happen.
Before,
That
while,
would never
while he
happen.
was, while he was waiting to meet with the chief. I was lucky that was the meeting that was happening that Friday.
Did that happen?
I definitely locked myself in the vestibule and had to call the chief while he was on his way to the meeting to make sure he had the code to the Knox box, which
Yeah.
we do have out
Yeah,
front.
yeah. So,
Sorry.
I have a question. So you
Yes.
mentioned, I was briefly the supervisor, and then when I was the supervisor, there were a couple of issues with boulder, like private roads
mhm.
where,
They-
homeowners had.
they put 'em out by the
boulders
road. Yep.
Close to the road, and I
Yep,
think they
yep.
were doing it because they didn't want people.
People driving on
driving
grass, yep.
roads. But then there was an issue with the emergency services not being able to get in because now there was not enough space.
So, yes, and we've maybe bumped a couple of them rocks over the years, unfortunately. And that's a perfect example of like the egress. One thing that I've seen too is someone builds a house off the middle of the field, which is perfect. They, 20 years ago, they planted trees down the side of the driveway and they were only as tall.
Right.
20 years later, that driveway
Yeah.
might have been 25 foot wide. Now it's like barely a little car can get through it and they don't want to trim them back.
So would the fire code?
So,
Give
so
the-
again,
the-
the fire code doesn't really address, it doesn't address a lot of residential side of it. It's more driven for commercial. What it does do is it would give us a little bit of leverage to be, we could then go to the homeowner and be like, listen, the code says we need to be able to access you. And then the other part of it is insurance companies are starting to, they're always looking at, how can they raise your rates? Well, if the fire department can't get there to protect your house, what's the insurance company gonna do? They're gonna raise your rates or drop you. When you start telling homeowners this, they're like, yeah, maybe we'll cut the trees back. So it's just we don't want to go that route, but it's something to think about,
Any additional questions? Trustee Nolte.
I agree with on the road and the rock thing. We had that happen in my neighborhood. And people weren't getting loans
Mhm.
and they couldn't get insurance on their houses because trucks couldn't get down.
Yeah, yeah.
And it takes the whole community to fix it.
It does, it really does.
My other question is there are we late coming to this game or are we early coming to this game?
To getting a fire code?
Yeah, to getting
You are not late,
we're not late.
you're not
okay.
early.
Right on time.
Um,
Right on time.
We're
There-
punctual
There's
people.
been
That was diplomatic.
yeah, yeah, I mean, there's other communities around here that do not,
Okay.
never adopted one yet.
Okay,
Will it? I mean, especially nowadays with the electric vehicles, the solar panels, all the
yeah,
renewable energies that people are now, 20 years ago, we didn't have electric cars,
Right.
per se. You didn't put solar panels on your house.
right.
These are all and they're starting to put in solar farms. If they want to put a solar farm in, are you ready to say
Yeah.
yes or no?
Gotcha.
That's where some of the stuff, where the fire code says, okay, if you're gonna do this, you have to have X, all these lists,
Yeah,
which helps you guys.
yeah. And then my other question is fighting fires on the lakes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you always bring tankers down to us. And is there a reason we don't throw big pumps in the lake and use the lake water?
So we do have portable pumps that we can pump from lake water.
Okay,
We can actually draft from our trucks also, if we can get the truck close enough. Generally,
Oh.
we cannot get the bigger trucks close enough.
gotcha.
So the portable pumps would come into play. The portable pumps can generally only do upwards of almost 500 gallons a minute.
Wow,
Excuse me. An average house fire, we're gonna be 12 to 1,500 gallons a minute.
good.
Aggressively going after it,
Yeah,
There's dry hydrants throughout this community and other ones.
right,
They work, but I mean,
yeah,
unless the house that's right next door, we gotta still shuttle water in with the tankers.
yeah. Well, it's in our neighborhood, we've had houses burn and the house next door burns or melts.
Yep.
Because
Well,
they're so close
it's
together,
proximity,
yeah,
yep.
you can't stop it. So I was
Yep.
wondering about hitting the lake.
Yeah. So yes, we can do that and we have done it. And it's just a matter of if we need water or not.
Yeah.
You know, winter time's a little tougher because then there's, I gotta get chainsaws, I gotta get the ice out of the way so we can get to the water and whatnot. So,
Okay. Thank you.
yep.
Any additional questions? Inspector Ruth, thank you so much.
No,
Yeah.
Thank you
anytime.
for your time.
Thank you.
Anytime.
Yeah.
Moving right along in discussion items, also talking about the fire station, electrical work at Fire Station 2. In my report last month, I indicated that there were some repairs and items that we needed to look at for Station 2. In your packet, you have one quote from Taylor Electric. The quote that was in the packet is for $12,970. That is for a bunch of different upgrades and changes and improvements to different fixtures, and some of them are contained within Station 2, as well as just changing things over for easier maintenance. The quote that you see in your supplemental materials is for $1,455. And this is the quote that we're really looking at right now. These are the things that we really need to repair or fix that are more urgent than the others. These are things that I did when I did a walkthrough that were highlighted as issues that needed to be repaired. For example, the exterior lights above the bay in both 1 and 3, that we have changed those light bulbs out, I believe 4 or 5 times. So it's actually the fixture that is bad. And so we need to change some of those things. So that's why you see 2 different estimates. Obviously, this is just discussion. We're not gonna vote on any of these, but you should expect that we will bring forward the smaller of these at the next meeting to get these repairs taken care of.
How was the budget allowing for this?
We have under our lease agreement with the DAFD, anything that is exterior of the building is us.
Okay.
And so this would come out of our maintenance budget. And that's why we have the quote now for all of those internal repairs and the upgrades and all the things that will eventually become necessary. But as this board has done, I think those are more for capital planning for longer term, since it's a much larger cost. But these are things that we do have an obligation to take care of.
I think there's plenty in the maintenance, but I mean, I see that we're at 33% for the year, at 25% of the year elapsed. But I know that those maintenance expenses are not consistent month over month. So I'm guessing that you won't, this will fit within, you won't need any budget amendment or anything.
Yeah.
And I was gonna say that for the $12,000 expense, when you did the capital project, he did go over to the fire station. So some of this is probably in already, the capital improvement plan, and sort of folded into that 232,000. So maybe we would just want to do this next budget year. I don't.
Yeah, we have an entire list of things. We also got about an $8,000 quote to redo the concrete outside. And there are a number of items. We are collecting the quotes, as I said in my original report about these items. It will really be a determination by the board. The lease agreement is sort of ambiguous about some of the repairs that what it says is that anything external or like on the building, we are required to take care of. I would argue that because we own the building and lease it, that there are some additional items that are maintenance that if we allowed to go to disrepair would not be good either. So for example, the caulking around windows and doors and making sure that everything seals. That's not a technical thing according to the lease that we would be required to do. It's a request from the department. And what I've agreed to with the chief is that we will get all of these bids and then sit down with the department and see which of those things are things that, do fall under the lease that we will for sure take care of, prioritize the other things based on what the firefighters need, and then have a discussion about, what the board is willing to do versus what Daphne would cover, or if there's some cost share on some of those repairs. So that's the process that we're working through. The two biggest things, though, were this lighting and the gutter. There was a big issue with the gutters and also a leak in the roof. And those are things that the gutters have already been taken care of. We just went ahead and did that under standard maintenance. That was in my report last time. This is obviously a larger expense than the $280 gutter cleaning that we did. So wanted to make sure the board had awareness of all of those. And then we'll continue to bring them to the board as we get the bids as well.
Flag light. Is that a light on the flag?
It is. As you know, it is a requirement when flying the US flag that it has to be lit, and the fixture around the flag at the fire station is broken. And also there's one of the bollard lights outside the parking lot was knocked over. So that also has to be repaired. Any other questions for discussion? All right, hearing none. Next discussion item is the discussion of the township photo contest. I put this in a report earlier on. There's a write-up here that's proposed. I'm not going to spend any time on it tonight. If you have questions, comments, please email them to me and we'll bring this back for an action item. Are there any questions before we move on?
Can staff and board members submit?
It's a great question. I don't see why not. I think that's a decision the board can make when we decide, but I would think anyone who's taking photos of the township could submit, and we'll have to pick non-biased judges if that's the case.
Are we keeping, I know we're giving back the pictures, said we're giving back the pictures mattered or whatever. Are we keeping anything for our decor?
The idea was that they would change so that we would pick spots where these go and always replace them with whatever the new, if we do it annually, whatever the new photos are.
Yeah, like we'd hold it for a year. That's what I was kind of.
Yeah, we would hold it for a year.
Okay,
It would be on display in the township hall for a year.
That's what I was asking.
We would do the contest again, give the winners back their stuff, and then switch out for the new winners.
Okay.
Great idea.
And do we, I'm sorry that I do we frame them and we would?
Yeah, that's essentially what
That's
they,
what
yeah.
it is, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
that's what our cost would be framing and matting.
Right.
All right. Q&A, staff and township committee reports. Is there anyone who would like to speak to any of their reports?
I just wanted to thank Fletcher, as he's not here, but I really appreciated his thoughtful review of the City of Dexter master plan, and his comments I thought were very thoughtful and spot on and in our interest. So he's not here, but if you could pass along my thanks, and I think I probably speak for the other board members.
Definitely will. Anyone else that would like to speak to their reports? All right.
I actually have one more. Alicia, I would really like to have a report on short-term rentals.
It
Wait,
is in there.
it's in there.
Yes.
Page 144.
Did not see it. I apologize. Such a short packet. How did I miss it?
Page 144.
Okay, I'm gonna read that then.
You get the whole final report and everything. It's like 100 pages.
Yeah.
Which I did not print for my binder. Which I did not print for my binder this week.
Basically, I just gave a summary, and then I attached the final report that the short-term rental committee sent to the planning commission. I figured that was what you're asking for. So the first page, 144, is just
Yeah.
gonna be an overview that also leads into a planning commission report.
Right.
Then the page after that starts 100 pages of the final report,
Right.
ready for your review.
Well, I read the committee report,
Okay.
but I was just curious about, was there a consult, because my involvement, I think I was just responding to, I wasn't aware there, for the committee, there was no consultant, so. just
We didn't even have a recording secretary.
Yeah, so I was just confused about that, like, what was this discussion about the consultant, but.
I'm not sure. I was actually gonna have a separate conversation, but,
I thought there just might be something beyond that.
no,
Maybe.
the consultant in this instance only helped with the report once the committee had gotten to that stage, and worked with Fletcher. So it was basically what the committee had requested was produced.
I see. Yeah, this is, okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right, any other, committee reports? All right, data and performance metrics, we do have, the fire department activities. We did not receive the sheriff department activities in time to print them. If we do receive it, we'll make sure we get it emailed out to everybody. And we'll go to our second call for public comment.
Sure. Hi, I'm Ginny Morgan. I live at 7905 Sour Drive. I was going to talk on short-term rentals, but I'm going to hold my comments for next time. Because of, I'd like to mention a few things about the single hauler issue. And in my past life, I worked for Bill Delly in the prosecutor's office, and then I went to the U.S. Attorney's office. And I was there for a while, and then I was a magistrate judge in Detroit. This is not to say that I know more than anybody else, because I don't. I've just lived through some trash hauling issues. So first of all, I would commend to you just to do a Google search on lawsuits against waste management, just to get, it's always important when you begin a contract, like Robert Frost says about walls, to know what you're walling in, what you're walling out. And Dexter Township is an amazingly honest, trustworthy, dedicated group. But the people on the other side are not always that way. So waste management, and I have waste management, I'm satisfied with them. But you should understand that they got here by buying out Monroe and then buying out Green for Life, or whatever they do to get rid of Green for Life. And now they're here, and they send surveys all the time. And of course, you know, that encourages people to say nice things about whatever. So I'm just saying, I think that they're doing a fine job, but I started in 1983. You look at, if you want to Google these, and I can send you more stuff if you want. Vista Disposal, Charles Beckham, the mayor of Detroit, was federally indicted and the Ferentinos, who are actually Washtenaw-ish. So there's that. And then my dear friend, Mr. Rizzo, of Rizzo Environmental, whatever. And I'm just going to read you a little bit from the Detroit Free Press and then just give you something to think about. Hauling trash, the Rizzo company would discover, was a lucrative business in the municipal world, where multi-million-dollar contracts were up for grabs to the lowest bidder. Rizzo Services rolled in with its rock bottom prices, and before long, the Sterling Heights Company was king of trash. This was 30 years after Beckham and Vista Disposal. Running a garbage empire that today includes 55 municipalities across Metro Detroit, where Rizzo's signature red trucks have popped up in record numbers, et cetera, et cetera. Mr. Rizzo, despite the fact that he was always very kind, did end up going to prison for bribing a political person. And once they're in, they're in. And once you're protecting whoever is the single hauler against competition, they're going to make sure you're happy, whatever that makes. Is my experience. I'm not saying it's going to happen here. I'm just saying that, good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comments?
Costs 10,071 here on River Drive. Same thing on single hauler, a couple of minor things. I remember maybe 2 or 3 meetings ago, I thought it was discussed that the Western Washtenaw Recycling, they didn't really care if they had Dexter Township's recycled material or not. So I wouldn't worry about them right now. Also talking about plastic, are you aware that only 8 to 12% of all plastic that gets recycled actually gets reused? The other 88 to 92% of plastic goes to a landfill. Yeah. So I don't know if I would get too hung up on where is it going. And then fire station number 2, I heard you say it has a roof leak. I know we can't talk, but I thought that opened in 2010. So that's 15 years old. Please confirm if that roof is still under warranty before we spend any money. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You.
Any other public comment? All right, hearing none, we'll move into other issues, comments, concerns of board members and staff. Trustee Nolte,
None right now.
trustee Abbott,
None.
treasurer Metz,
No.
clerk Stambolis,
None.
trustee Sanders.
I have an announcement, which is, and the reason that there's nothing written is that this all just got confirmed today, that we're going to do an talk about immigration part 2. And this one is going to be less of the people who are there to answer questions and facilitate talking, and more about the community asking questions, making comments, having a discussion. And the plan is to have it at 6 o'clock on Thursday, July 31st. And we would love to invite as many community members as are interested to come. It's kind of a continuation. We had
Thank you.
a good turnout and talk a couple weeks ago, and but it wasn't enough. We want to continue it.
And just to come here,
It's going to be here. Yeah.
great. Anything else? Trustee Sickinga.
I just wanted to let everybody know that I am going to put together a survey prior to our strategic planning session that we're going to do in August. That's going to go out to the residents, everybody that's subscribed through In the Loop, you know, all the people whose email addresses we got through our Park Pass program. And usually when I do a survey like this, I'm asking them to, you know, if you look, here's our mission statement, here's our current mission statement, write us a new mission statement. So we'll have lots of, I hope, mission statement submissions. I may also ask them to write a tagline for us. Right now, we're a community for all seasons. Do people have suggestions for a different tagline? I will list out the current things that we're working on and ask them to prioritize those things and then suggest other things that they would like us to consider working on. And then I always like to just have an open-ended, like anything else you would like us to know. And you know, because we're doing this strategic planning next month, I'm just going to go work with Lonnie and Sam on it and go ahead and issue it. So if anybody wants to be a beta tester, let me know, because I'll need a beta tester. And then we'll have those survey results as part of
Sounds great.
part of the strategic planning session.
Great.
Thank you for doing that.
Janice, anything tonight? All right. The only thing that I have is a reminder that we are starting with Brevo this month. So the In the Loop newsletter will come out with through our new email system. So a reminder to residents, if you don't get it by, I would say, the 1st of next month, make sure you check your spam because it will be coming from a new system. Same email address. It'll still show up as from info. But sometimes those will have to be whitelisted again just because of the type of system that it's sending. So
Lonnie,
excited about
do
that.
you know what the deadline is to get something in the loop? Because I'd like to put that immigration talk in there.
Yes,
Is it passed?
it is, but I'm sure we will still take submissions.
Okay.
So
okay.
if you have anything, please get it in
Right.
by the end of this week.
Yeah, okay.
I want the
Okay, great.
survey link in there too.
So
All right.
because this is our first one in the new system, we'll start by letting everyone go slightly later than normal. But usually the deadline will be the week before the board meeting
Okay.
so that it can be sent directly after the board meeting's over. All right. With no further business, the meeting is adjourned at 7:21.
Okay.